Yeah, so Noble and
Oh yeah, he was giving a Shakespeare performance. He was like, "How many nights has it been since I've? Where am I? Am I still trying to get into this building? Why?"
and they're
And they're
like, it's
like, "We
been
don't know."
they're like, it's been 5 nights, motherfucker. You've been keeping us up. Your fucking like werewolf by night, like howling at the moon bullshit.
Too much energy.
Hooray! You're Silverbolt.
These upgrades come with a warranty.
Blah 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 blah. Beast Wars once and for all.
Cheetor, what have you done?
I am giving this episode no Energon.
What
Yeah.
are you, a Quintesson? This is no Energon. Fuck it. I can't.
Sigma balls, Gary. No, not that. Ah!
Good evening, Lizard Lips. Welcome to episode 72 of Too Much Energon, the Lasercomb podcast where we talk about Beast Wars shit and talk shit about Beast Wars, coming to you live from a mysterious floating mountain somewhere on planet Energon. I'm The Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm NeoCal, your other host.
What's going on, Cal?
Oh, watching some Beast Machines and trying to fathom the impossible to fathom. Like, what is a soul? What is a spark? What is an organic body, really?
I have the ultimate question to follow that up with. What is
Okay.
love? Baby, don't
What-
hurt me.
Don't hurt me.
No more.
What is love?
Uh,
Is it intangible? Is it even real? Or is it just an evolutionary bias that we've developed as mammals in order to promote the family unit?
See, I wasn't actually expecting a somewhat like academic answer, like liberal arts answer, but I mean, I'll take it.
Anthropological observation
Yeah.
every once in a while.
Speaking of anthropological,
Speaking of furries,
observation. Speaking of furries, I'm noticing actually, I at the beginning of the year, the day after my birthday, I decided to resume a entirely plant-based diet. Well, not entirely. I still eat eggs and fish occasionally, but
so
no meat.
pescatarian
Yeah,
ish.
no meat, no dairy. And the goal was to lose weight because I've put on upwards of 40 pounds or so in the past 2 years. So it was getting to be a little too much, if you will. And
Gotcha.
so I'm actually starting to notice a little bit of a change. My face is slimming out a little bit, my shirt and pants that I'm wearing are a little bit looser. I weighed myself. I'm actually down like 9 pounds.
Okay, so it's working. Excellent.
It's working, yes. So hopefully I will be back to my ideal weight, which is around like 153 to 155 or so.
Wow, we've got very different ideal weights.
That is peak Siege right there.
Peak me is like 220 pounds.
Oh, that's
I'm thick though.
that's fat Siege territory. One thing that's different about this time, this weight that I put on though, is historically throughout my life, because I've kind of yo-yoed throughout most of my adult life.
Right.
I was a fat kid, was a fat teenager, and then in my like late teens, early 20s, I dropped the weight. And I've done that cycle, I think, like 3 or 4 times now. But what always happened before was I would balloon back up to being like 220, between like 215 and like 225. I haven't done that this time. I actually kind of like plateaued at like 193, which that was that was when I was like, okay, this is getting to be a bit too much. So I got to do something about the old diety do, if you will.
And it's
And
coming along.
it's coming along. Yeah, I've lost like I weighed in today at 184. So we're shedding the pounds.
It's like a scale like 8 feet away from me. And I haven't used it. I don't know. I think it'll be like 230 or something like that.
I have a pretty neat Fitbit scale.
Oh,
So it's I don't even have a Fitbit anymore. Like I used to have Fitbits for years.
you take it off your wrist, put it on the floor, and then step on it.
Not quite. But the scale with interfaces with the Fitbit app and will like tie into your fitness activity and like your weight and everything like that.
Okay.
So it can give you like all kinds of like
Oh,
neat
that's kind of
stats.
cool. Yeah.
It is kind of cool. It was really handy. I had Fitbits for years, but I found they kept breaking. Like those things are usually only like $100 or $200, depending on which one you get. And well, I found like for one reason or another, like they would end up breaking like within a year or so. And so I got sick of it. I got sick of that, and I'm like, no, you know what? Like just no, I've had enough of Fitbit, and
No,
so
shit.
I ended up deciding to get an Apple Watch, which was a very it's been a wise upgrade. I've been thoroughly happy. I've had my Apple Watch Series 6.
Cam, it did something weird there. Oh no, it was just the reflection of the light I saw. I thought it was going all like hacker mode and like showing like fuzz and lines and stuff like that. No, it caught one of your lights on it funny.
Yeah, yeah, it was an upgrade that I'm pretty happy with. It's a Series 6, which at the time was the latest one. I just got it through device subsidy through my cell phone provider.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
There we go.
So instead of dropping, like $700 or $800 all at once, it's costing me like $30 a month. So I'm like, yeah, not bad. And it's cool. I really like it. But yeah, so I can still link, not directly, but I can link up my Fitbit app to another third-party app, which I can't even remember what it is now. And then I can link my Apple Health to that other third-party app. And so the Fitbit scale and the Fitbit app and my Apple Watch, in a way, will indirectly talk to one another and share data.
What a wild cyberpunk future we live in, man.
Yeah, what a wild future indeed. Speaking of the future, this is, as I mentioned, this is episode 72 of Too Much Energon. And this week we are talking about the third episode of Beast Machines, Prometheus Unbound. It originally aired on August 26, 2000.
Wow. Wonder why it's called Prometheus Unbound.
Dude, what is the story of Prometheus? Pretend anyone listening to any of the listeners out there don't know the story of Prometheus, and not that I am completely unfamiliar with it beyond it being the name of a ship in Stargate.
It was in Stargate?
Yeah, actually, in I think it was like season 5 or season 6, after the SGC had developed a relationship with the Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
The Asgard started sharing technology with Earth, and just enough. There were some things that they wouldn't share with them, but they did give us the SGC like hyperspace technology and all that. So Earth built
stuff, yeah.
so Earth, yeah, they just wouldn't share weaponry, basically. So Earth and I actually I think it was in exchange for them helping for humanity helping them out with the replicators, which um basically the Asgard were like, we are so far advanced that we can't fathom a simple enough, like, nothing we've done to fight the replicators works. So we're so advanced we can't fathom a simple enough answer to actually fight them and take them out. But you were able to do that with your primitive projectile weapons because it destabilizes the like energy fields that like hold like the bits of the because the replicators are essentially like Lego monsters.
Right.
They're like little like
I don't remember.
They're like little like they're kind of like bionicle like robots.
Yeah. You can blow them apart and they can attach and
Yeah, so
reattach,
nothing the Asgard did was actually actually effective at fighting them, but
Earth came in like yeehaw and blew shit up.
Yeah, Earth's humans projectile weaponry actually like was effective in fighting the replicators. So in exchange for Earth helping the Asgard out fighting the replicators, they're like, okay, we're going to share some technology with you. And so Earth built their first starship, like intergalactic starship,
Right.
and they called it the Prometheus.
Okay, well, from what I pieced together from Prometheus, the alien movie, and what the Wayland Yutani,
Okay.
is that the guy's name?
You're talking
Let's say
about
yes.
Guy Pearce in old man makeup?
Yeah.
What a weird casting choice. Like, why not just cast an old guy?
There's tons of older male actors that could.
And I love Guy Pearce. Like, Guy Pearce is great, but it's like, why cast him as an old man and put him in old man makeup? Like,
and then they showed the footage of from when he was younger, and I guess that's why. I don't know. I'm with you there.
I heard on a podcast that I was listening to once that they originally, like, the younger, there was a subplot originally that was going to de-age him or something in the movie, and he was going to play much bigger, and he was going to play a much bigger role, but it ended up getting it ended up
Cut
like getting
of the final.
It ended up getting lost in rewrites and yada yada.
Good choice. It's already. It's one of those ones that I like love to hate, or hate to love, or hate to love. Yeah, Prometheus. But from what I remember from him saying and Google, is it Greek, Roman, Greek? One of the Titans.
Yeah.
The Titans are bad, right? But the Titans were just like the gods before the gods showed up.
The Titans are the predecessors of the gods of Olympus.
Mount Olympus, yeah. And I love that kind of story because it implies that there were other dudes in charge and that like new dudes came in, beat them, and then villainized them. Villainized the old guard. But basically, what was it? He's the god of fire, and he's basically the Loki of the Greek pantheon. Am I wrong? He's like a trickster god. He's a god of fire, like of the forge or something like that. Master craftsman. Did he create mortals, or was that all the Titans that created mortals?
He is known for his intelligence and for being a champion of mankind.
Okay,
and is seen as the author of human arts and sciences.
So why did Greek gods overthrow the Titans? Assholes.
I don't know. I'll have to like go and play through God of War again.
Yeah. I like how it's like our sources are the film Prometheus and the video game series God of War.
And Stargate.
And Stargate. If there's a better source, tell us. I challenge you to find us a better source. So what is this? Prometheus Unbound?
Speaking of, real quick, we'll get into it in a second.
Yeah.
I watched Marvel's Eternals recently. It's not a movie that reviewed. It's like the worst reviewed MCU film to date. It was a movie I didn't really give two shits about because, like, I read like one Eternals comic in the mid 2000s, and I was
Weren't
like,
attached to it, right?
I was like, yeah, okay, this is boring. But you know, I was like, all right, like I didn't give two shits about Guardians of the Galaxy prior to their movies, especially the second one. I'm a big fan of, which is a controversial opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
I like both of those movies.
I the first one is very like is a very like plot driven like MacGuffin story, whereas the second one is much more about like developing the characters and their relationships with one another, which is why the second one appeals to me so much.
I liked it more too. You get to find out things about the characters.
I-
Whereas in the first one, it's introducing them and their quirks. It's the
yeah,
MCU's movie where they found their sweet spot in their sense of humor,
it's
right?
also it's also when the second one came out in theaters, I was actually out of town because my aunt was dying. So the whole
Mm,
I don't know, the whole stuff with Yondu and all of that, it just hit me at like a certain time. So I have a lot of love for that movie. But
I have a lot of love for it too because of the theme of like the whole like Yondu being like, "Oh, I might not be your father, but I'm your dad," kind of thing. It hits me pretty rough. And his
yeah.
father's like, "Oh, I just went from planet to planet fucking bitches and giving them cancer until like one of them had a kid, and here you are. Now you get to be cool like me." So
Yep.
I vibe
I,
with that movie a lot.
I vibe with that too. What I don't vibe with though is Eternals. Eternals is a very it has this really like self-aggrandizing sense of importance, but like none of the characters are particularly interesting. The story is quite dull. Um, but the
In a
reason why
level with you, I haven't heard of it.
it's on Disney
Yeah,
Plus
that's
now.
that's how much of a filthy like non-listening to news and pop culture am. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Um, but the reason why I brought it up was because like one of the big themes of that movie is that the Eternals have been on Earth for 7,000 years and they've been seeding humanity and like creating myths of like deities and gods and like helping advance humanity's technology throughout the years. And I'm like, you guys are acting like this movie is acting like this is this really like big like profound story, and I'm like, man, I fucking saw Stargate do this shit like 25 years ago.
Well, they got high and watched Ancient Aliens and were like, make that a make that a
Basically,
movie.
basically, yeah.
Because the whole thing about Ancient Aliens is that all the old gods and technology and like the aliens have had a helping hand. And yeah, it's Ancient Aliens, the MCU movie. Am I
Yeah.
wrong?
I mean, technically, Stargate predates Ancient Aliens.
So it's Stargate, the
And I doubt that Stargate was even the first like
no.
like science fiction property to do something like that. But it's the one that I'm familiar with. But
Reminded you of
anyway,
it.
the Eternals, the movie like treats it like it's this like really like novel concept, and it's like, man, I was watching Stargate in like the late 90s and early 2000s, and they were doing that shit too.
Y'all motherfuckers even heard of the Goa'uld?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah,
It's
the
funny,
evil
we
version
do
of you
these and
plays
it-
a system lord on
Oh,
Stargate.
right, I forgot. I
Kevin,
remember there were like two people that were like, I see it. It was like you and like your ex or your friend or something like that.
I
They were like,
posted
"Oh,
it.
yeah,
I
see it."
posted a side by this like a decade ago. I posted a side by side like picture of you and this actor. His name's like Kevin Durand. A really great character actor, but and like I remember like a bunch of people on Facebook were like, "Yeah, I see it." Yeah, he's
Okay. Yeah, he's like a slightly better looking Elon Musk.
and so like
Oh shit, this guy was in Vikings.
yeah, he played the guy who might be Odin.
Might be Loki or Odin.
Yeah.
One of the gods visiting them to
It's
fuck
heavily
Ragnar's
implied
wife.
in the show that he might be the Allfather. But Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I for years referred to that actor before I actually started like seeing him in like a million different things and being like, okay, this guy's great, so I should just actually take note of his name. Um, but I used to just call him douchebag Cal because he always played for a time. He was always playing, popping up as villains and things, and he played. He ended up playing Barry Burton in like one of the Resident Evil movies, and
Right. I
which
was
was
like,
weird
he has
casting.
that face where I'm like, "Oh, he's a little bit familiar."
Yeah,
Yeah. I think I've
it's
got a
like
stronger nose.
it's like looking in the mirror.
He's got better eyebrows, but I've got a stronger nose.
You know who has an even stronger nose? Megahead.
Mega head.
So Prometheus Unbound, this week's episode of Beast Machines opens with the Maximals once again at Megahead. Am I right?
Yep. Oh, what is it? It cuts. They're at Megahead, and there's like a Cybertron moon. How many moons does Cybertron have?
Well, we saw in Transformers the movie in 2005, Unicron ate both of Cybertron's moons. So it's like, okay, so I guess they made new ones.
Yeah, we saw that he ate 2 moons. So it's like, oh, it's like Mars. It has 2 moons.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember
So
us commenting about that.
So I guess like in the centuries following, they just built new moons, I guess.
Maybe they're naturally formed moons, like debris fields, and that they
Maybe.
like put. I don't know. This one looks cut up. Anyone listening, if you know the story of it, go to season 2, episode 3 of Beast Machines. It looks fucking cool. It looks like a golf ball or like a cue ball, right? But the skin is slit open, and there's like those sentinels from Matrix.
Right.
They've got like the squid Doc Ock arms. It looks like there's a bunch of like alligator tails / like sentinel arms like wrapped up inside of it. And I'm like, oh, whoever did that, it looks cool. Because it's passing in the background as a 2D like painted object. And it kind of reminds me of the movie in that sense. How a lot of the backgrounds were painted.
Yeah, because that was
Because it's not 3D, it's painted art that's floating by. And at first I was like, lol, that looks janky as fuck. But then now I'm like, this looks cool. And Noble like howls at the moon.
Yeah, he goes all Ozzy Osbourne and barks at the moon here.
Oh man, we start with some Night Scream bullshit, don't we?
Yeah, we start with some Night Scream bullshit. And
I know what you're saying. Last episode where you're like, he's so inconsistent and he's what an emo bitch. I don't like Night Scream, man.
Yeah, I know. And like last
this whole episode, he's just a
last week he was all like early in the episode he was like shit talking like prior he was like shit like glad like Gary Primal was dead and like shit talking the other Maximals, but then at the end of the last episode he was like, oh Noble, Gary over here will help you just like he helped me. He helped.
The Maximals
are my fam. They're my family. They took me in when no one else would.
Yeah.
And then this week again, he's back to being like, "Oh, with friends like you, who needs Megatron?"
Immediately, first minute, because they're like, I don't know if we can trust Noble. If he like transforms into Savage again, he could fuck us up. They're contemplating what to do, and he's like, "Geez, like with friends like you, who needs via cons or some Night Scream bullshit?" And he's like, you can't ground me, I'm running away. And he tries to fly away, and Primal's like, Night Scream, wait, and flies after him for some dumb reason.
And then we end up cutting to out in front, still out in front of
Megatron's HQ, the Megadome.
And Noble is there like pounding at the door. And so the Maximals like go and like they're like, "Hey, Noble, you wanna stop doing that? You've been doing this for the past like 5 nights in a row. Like, the fuck's wrong with you, bud?"
And he growls at them and then gets angry, and they're like, now, calm down.
You know what
And
happens when you get angry? And Noble's like, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry, and then turns into a dragon.
no, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And turns into a dragon and attacks him a bit, and then starts slamming his head on the door. And there's like automated defenses that come out, like a bunch of tentacle.
I thought they were. It's
Tentacles.
weird. I thought they were spark extractors. They look like spark extractors, but
Well,
they
later
don't.
they use this model as spark extractors.
Yeah, so I thought these were spark extractors. But they don't try to extract anyone's sparks. What they end up doing is like enveloping Savage because
They just wrap them up.
yeah, they just wrap him up because I'm just gonna call them spark extractors come out and they initially go for Night Scream, and Savage goes to save him. He pushes him out of the way, and then the spark
Right.
extractors like envelop him and like completely wrap him up and like squeeze him, and they like pull him free, and he's turned back into Noble. And so we get some dialogue with him, like he's like, "Oh, did I do it again? What?"
I don't remember. And they're like, yeah, you're trying to break in there. And he's like, why? Oh, this is up. Like, if you're watching this, you probably watched the episode. Spoilers, this is Megatron. This is
Yeah.
Megatron.
Yes, this is
In case you didn't recognize the voice.
in case you didn't recognize David Kaye's voice, which, to be fair, he's diverse. Actually, I mentioned Eternals a few minutes ago. He does the voice of the Celestial in that movie, like who ends
Cool.
up like kind of, spoilers for the Eternals. He ends up kind of becoming the main bad guy of the movie, like you find out.
Yes. You Eternals will face the wrath of the mighty Megatron.
Yeah, there's a plot twist that happens about halfway through the movie where you find out some shenanigans involving the
Ooh, what a
Eternals
twist.
origins, which is
I will
not from the
never-
comics.
If I ever watch it, I will have long forgotten.
I don't recommend watching it, to be perfectly honest.
Then I never will.
The only
I'm
cool
one of
thing
those
about
people where people are like, "Oh, don't watch this," and I'm like, "Okay." I got too many games and shows and movies to watch, man. If someone's like, "Nah," I'm like,
What?
Thanks.
One of my coworkers the other day was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be watching The Matrix Resurrections this weekend," and I was like, "Oof." He's like, "Oh, it's not good," and like we talked about it for a few minutes, and he's like, "Well, you know, I know I'll probably like it. Like, I'm a huge fan of the original trilogy, and like I'm like, so was I." He's like, "But yeah, you know, like as long as it doesn't like completely like fuck things up, like I'm usually like pretty. I'm just happy there's a new movie." I'm like, "Yeah, so was I." But yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think of it. And then
I'm gonna
today
watch it this weekend too.
and then today when I saw him, he just says to me, he's like, he just looks at me and he's like, "One of the worst fucking movies I've seen all year."
I'll let the listeners know what I think of it, because unlike most people, I defend that The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions are good movies.
Oh yeah. I defend the Matrix. I've always defended the Matrix Reloaded, and in recently, I've kind of come around on the Matrix Resurrections. I think the movie still has flaws, and like the issues that I've always had with it are still present. But I do appreciate the movie more as a like companion, if taken as a companion piece to the Matrix Reloaded, which is what it's intended to be.
Hey, leave him alone. He's just Night Scream. Is like, hey, leave him alone. He's just like me.
And
And
I
I'm
like how I actually like I'm 100% on Rat Trap's side during all of these exchanges, because Rat Trap is like, yeah, we can't fucking trust this guy. Like that all
we know that it's it's Megatron, but at the same time, he's done nothing. So, okay, let me TLDR the first 15 goddamn minutes of this. We can still go through it, but I want to get this off my chest. The first 15 minutes are Night Scream being a whiny little emo bitch and being like, leave him alone. Noble's my best friend. You don't understand him like I do. See, he defended me when he was a dragon form. Not like you stupid rat. I've never been your friend. Fuck you. And I'm like, just like last episode, you were saying all of these people are your like family and I trust them with my life. Like whatever medication Night Scream needs, he's not getting.
Yeah.
He's a teenager. He's got his head like not screwed on right. And because they're like, hey, like we need to do something to protect ourselves, but try to help him. And he's like, no, fuck you. Let's go, best friend Noble. We'll go off on our own. And they're like, oh, that's probably for the best. We'll look into the Megatron's, the Megadome, and you guys fuck off.
Yeah, and Noble like tries to protest. He's like, no, I need to get in there. And Gary's like, no, get out of here. Go away.
Get out of here. You're bothering me.
Yeah,
you weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah, you weirdo.
And indeed, he's starting to betray his intent because now, while he's remember, he had just pretended, oh, what? How many nights has it been? Why do I come back here? And now, while he's conscious as Noble, he's like, no, I need to get in there. So
yeah,
he's bullshitting. He's bullshitting them.
Yeah, so they like fuck around with the door or something, and like the door opens, and Gary makes a comment about like how like the automated defenses that they encountered were the ones that the late great Megatron wanted us to find. So let's be on our guard.
Keep an eye open for booby traps.
So they walk in, and Night Scream and Noble are like walking away, and then Noble just like completely like does a 180 and like bolts back.
He hears with his wolf ears that they're in there, and he kind of like looks around, and because he's like, oh shit, they're in, and like you said, turns around and bolts back. And why is he running? Does he know the door is going to close on it automatically?
Well, we see the door, actually see the door closing. Yeah. And throughout this episode, we get a lot of like little shots, like at the end of the last episode with Noble, like making like grins, and
the
like
camera like zooms in on his face, and he's like,
they're making it obvious that he's up to something.
They're making it obvious that he's up to no good.
Yeah.
Trying to start some trouble in their neighborhood.
I was trying to remember the line.
He got in one little fight with the Viacons, and Gary Primal got scared.
You see that
you're moving in with your auntie and uncle, the Maximals.
There's a gritty reboot of Fresh Prince coming. Like
Will
actually,
Smith?
No. Will Smith is producing it. It's going to be on the American streaming service Peacock. But yeah, it's like actually, I think it's just called Bel Air, but it's like a gritty take on that story, like a dark, like dramatic take on that story. And I'm like, and this is like comment sections on like social media and everything everyone seems to the consensus seems to be, who asked for this?
Will Smith do what Will Smith do. How dare you question his godhood?
I think SNL did like a parody video of a like gritty reboot of Family Matters just called Urkel.
Yes, and I've recently watched it, and it is fucking like 10 out of 10. Because anybody that's familiar with that show quickly realized that audiences responded really positively to the character Urkel, and then more and more
Steve Urkel,
and more characters. More and more episodes started having Urkel on the show, so much so that the show became synonymous with the "Did I do that?"
Yeah, I don't even think he joined the show until like season 2 of Family Matters.
It was a bit into it, yeah, season 2 or 3 or something like that. And man, I went down a weird rabbit hole. My partner was like, "Oh, blah blah blah," just like Stefan. And I'm like, what? It's like
Stefan Urkel.
Urkel's like split personality, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like,
Oh yeah,
you don't know?
He developed a machine to like make himself cool, basically.
He developed a machine to make himself cool. And by the way, kudos to the actor. Holy shit. does he play both of those roles?
Well, and
really well?
the Stefan Urkel character is much more closer to how the actor behaves.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
the actor's cool. I usually know his name. I just can't recall it right now.
It's like
Did you know that they like
Jaleel White, I think.
That sounds really familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. I didn't realize. Did you know that he extracted Stefan from him and he became his own? They were different people that physically existed, and interacted with each other, and were both trying to date.
I think I remember that. Yeah, it was very like when Bruce Banner like separated himself from the Hulk.
That's exactly what happens, and they both propose to the. I can't remember any of the names right now, but like they're both like competing from proposing to the same
Carl
same girl.
Winslow's daughter.
There you go. It's like, she has a name I can't remember. It's been like 20 fucking years since I've seen the show, and I had no idea that was like
Been
such
like
a
30 since I've seen it.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole. So basically, we got something like that going on here. We got a Stefan and an Urkel, and they're at odds with each other. Or are they?
I like
I want to hate this episode, but like,
I dig this episode. Like we're
I know.
I really like this episode. I like Gary's reaction when he sees Noble like leap through, like leap into the Megadome. Gary is like, do you not understand the meaning of the word no?
And that right there should have been like, you know who also hates the word no?
In fact, he frequently utters the word that is the exact opposite of no.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Megabyte from Reboot.
Yes. The planet has
He
Energon.
even says yes earlier in the episode as like a nod.
He says it a couple of times in this episode.
Does he?
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. Well, now that you're here, you might as well help. But be very, you know what? I need to capture just the soundbite of Gary Primal saying booby, because he says, we got to look out for booby traps. And remember, Candace recently on Twitter had like tagged, and they're looking for like sound bites and memes and like stories or like whatever. I should just get that like half a second clip of him being like booby trap.
With the Too Much Energon Twitter account, I'm like, well, my favorite Gary Primal quote is "Taken unawares, I'm a fool." Which
that's a good one.
I'm pretty sure that's an Ian Weir line, friend of the show, Ian Weir, who we interviewed on an episode of the podcast. That's
an Ian Weir line.
Yeah, it's from Possession.
If there's ever really interesting dialogue, it's like, Ian Weir. We were right like 90% of the time. We'd be like halfway through an episode and we're like, Ian Weir wrote this one, right?
Right.
We were almost right every time.
Before like his name actually started like really sticking out to us. We're like, oh, it's from the same writer as this episode. It's from the right. It's from the writer of Dark, same guy who wrote Dark Designs, which had a lot of like really quippy dialogue.
Whenever we would linger on how good the dialogue was throughout that episode of Too Much Energon, it was usually an Ian Weir episode.
I've a friend of the show, Ian Weir. I've read one of his books. He has 3 published novels now, and I own all 3 of them. I've read one of them so far, and his characters all have very strong voices. The man has a knack for writing interesting dialogue.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. In fact, his recent book, which we talked about, was published like really recently, like when
2019.
Yeah, just 2019.
I have a copy of it sitting on my shelf. It's called the Death and Life of Buster Strothel. Make sure I'm actually getting that correct.
I'll look it up too. The Death and Life.
I'm just gonna go to his website.
Okay, good.
The Death and Life. The Death and Life. Blah. The Death and Life of Strother Purcell.
Strother Purcell. You were never gonna get that name, man.
No. That's actually I've read his first book that he published. I might actually skip over his second one and read his latest one first, because the concept of it sounds really up my alley. So listeners, go check out go to I think it's ianweir.net. Go to his website and look at links for his books and all of his various other works. Very nice, very nice man. Very interesting to talk to.
Wrote a lot of Beast Wars. A lot of out there episodes. if it's out there or someone dies, it's an Ian Weir episode.
If it's out there, if someone dies, if there are cyber raptors.
If there are cyber raptors, if they turn evil when they were good, or vice versa.
I saw.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. I shared a meme on the Lasercomb Discord a week or two ago, and it was a picture of Rhinox from the episode Dark Designs, where he turns evil, and it has like someone like right clicking and clicking dark mode.
Yeah, dark mode.
Dark mode.
I loved that.
It made me laugh.
That's a good one. I was like, what? People have beast machines? Very simple, but very effective.
Yeah. And like, it's effective because like if you know, you get it right away.
Yeah.
So speaking of knowing and getting it right away, Noble immediately like enters the dragon and turns back into Savage. And so like
after triggering purposefully, mind you, triggering a bunch of weird ass overly complicated landmines.
Right. Yeah, and so like the Maximals are like fleeing from like the automated defenses, and also are like we're now have to worry about dealing with
Savage on the loose.
Savage on the loose. Savage both on the streets and in the sheets.
And in the Megadome.
And in the Megadome. The
Savage on the Loose sounds like a folk song. But yeah, dark scene where they're exploring it tries to go for some horror vibes, where you're not sure if like when he's gonna attack. And it seems like he does, and then they're not. And
yeah, they're going for some horror vibes here. It doesn't quite work.
They try.
They try. It's fine, but like
it's because we know who the scary thing is. So it's like we just met like Noble and Savage, right?
Well, what I was gonna say was in the episode of Beast Wars, Guerrilla Warfare, where Gary Primal like goes nuts on the Predacon base, and it straight up like turns into a slasher movie for a few scenes there. That was really effective.
And that was directed really well too, because we see it from the Predacon's perspective.
Yeah.
And they're afraid. And that's different because the Maximals in these scenes aren't afraid.
No, they kind of just look lost.
They just look lost, and they're a little bit wary. But also, they've already dealt with Savage like a handful of times. So there's no immediate threat there.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening? Noble / Savage ends up finding the
mega chamber.
The mega chamber, yeah.
And
he transforms, by the way, like willingly, it seems, back to Noble, and gets all smiles, and seems to have forgotten that he has those floating tiles.
Well,
to
and he
get to
looks
the
over
center
and sees
island.
the uh
The
s-
command harness.
I was gonna say that was, thank you for bringing that up, because I was gonna mention we get a little bit of dialogue from Rat Trap later on in this episode where Rat Trap refers to it as, is it the command harness or the control harness?
Control harness or command harness, something like that. Yeah.
So I was like, oh wow, that's actually like the first time we've gotten a name for his like control like apparatus that his VR helmet, if you will.
Yeah, his full body like Lawnmower Man VR haptic suit, or at least upper body.
Yeah, yeah.
And what happens here? He tries to cross the weird floating tiles as Noble, but like for some reason is the first person on the entire show to fall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's purely organic. He's an organic
filthy
beast.
organic.
A
Yeah.
filthy organic, yes.
And he
So
falls, but Night Scream and Optimus like fly down into the depths to retrieve him. And it cuts back to the other three.
yeah, to
Rat
the
Trap,
to yeah,
Lady
to the
Arachnia, yeah.
other Maximals. They end up crossing, and Rat Trap like jumps into the like fuck, what was it called again?
Command harness.
The command harness. He actually like jumps into the command harness and interfaces with
It's
it.
cool. I'm like, oh sweet.
I was like, sweet. So it isn't just old Mega Breath.
So
who can
this
use
is what
thing.
ultimate power feels like. No, he didn't have any lines like that. He just immediately got into like hacking.
So probably my favorite bit in this episode actually is so Rat Trap, like once he's like plugged in to this thing, he starts bringing up like a bunch of like windows, and he's like clearly like looking for information, and Cheetor says to him, he's like, hey, are you looking for those missing sparks? And Rat Trap's like, no, I'm looking at the Sunday funnies. Of course I'm looking for the missing sparks.
Why do you think I'm in here? And
Like,
at first I'm like, oh, classic Rat Trap. But I'm like,
it was
you
a
don't
really
need to remind. He's
No,
on it, man.
yeah, no, I thought it was hilarious
It's
actually.
a good
I'm
Rat
like
Trap episode.
I'm like that was like Cheetor, like what have you done?
Yeah.
It's a fucking stupid line on Cheetor's part.
Oh, you want me to find the missing sparks from Cybertron? Yeah, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just checking the Sunday funnies.
Yeah.
Kind of says like defensively but angrily. It's just a very Cheetor like kind of like a sarcastic response. And yeah, I dig it. Reminds me a lot of classic Rat Trap.
Yeah. So Gary and Night Scream bring Noble back up after Rat Trap says that like he can't find where the sparks are right now because like all of the data is encrypted and even the encryptions are encrypted.
Yo, dog, I heard you like encryptions. Yeah, so nope, Noble comes back up and he's like, no, get away from there.
And he goes to dragon mode completely of his own volition. He transforms into a dragon, and the Maximals take notice of this. They're like, what?
Yeah, Cheetor points it out.
Yeah, he's like, what? He can control it? And so when he goes into dragon mode, he like blasts fire from his mouth at like a firebolt at Rat Trap, knocking him out of the command harness.
Yeah.
That triggers the like automated defenses, like and spark extract. Everything goes red. Spark extractors like start coming down. They
well-directed scene again. The red light and the battle music and it's the red I like it.
Yeah. The show has style. I gotta probably the biggest praise that I have for Beast Machines as a whole, which we'll get into when we're talking about the show
Yeah.
as a whole once we're finished with it. But the show has style, which I appreciate.
Hmm. And they all, including Noble, or sorry, Savage, all the Maximals and Savage like fight off the spark extractors. Pretty stylish, but they all use their powers. I forgot that Night Scream could like shoot his teeth out, and Vampire sucked the energy out of things.
Was he
Thanks,
shooting his
show.
teeth? Because it looked like he was just shooting like green energy from his mouth, like an energy beam from his mouth. Because I was watching that, and I've watched this episode like 4 times now, and I was watching that, and I was like, "That's new." Also, another thing that's new is he follows it up with, we've seen him like do a scream from his mouth, like a sonic scream.
Yeah.
This time the sonic scream actually came from like a thing on his back.
Yeah, he leaned his head down and there was like a big speaker like on his upper back, and it like shot out like circular like sonic blast attack. And he's like, music to my ears. And that's more classic Night Scream. I like that stuff. But he always used to just do that with his mouth.
Right.
So I was like, huh? Did they forget the first time? They were like, oh, wait, we designed him with that speaker thing on his back. He's supposed to shoot it like a cannon.
Maybe it was a note from Hasbro. They're like, well, he actually has this like thing on his back. And like that's what
I'm
should
going
be
with that.
that's what should be actually emitting his like sonic scream. And Mainframer just like, oh, okay.
Oh, our bad. Okay. Next time he does that, we'll make it shoot out of his back.
Yeah.
But what happens here? I'm watching it on Tubi, and at 15:53, I've screenshot it. I'll share it later. On 15:53, there's like another silhouette shot of
Noble holding up Rat Trap because he
ripped him out of the harness.
Yeah.
That was a cool shot.
Yeah,
they love their silhouettes.
It's also a weird shot. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, does this fit with the rest of the episode? I don't know. It's what and also why is like Noble just like holding Rat Trap up by his tail, like dramatically, like with light emitting from behind him? Why is that worthy of some kind of this kind of shot?
Cool.
Yeah, I guess.
The cameras
anyway,
were on his good side.
It's going to be the show art for this episode.
It's cool, but remember, a lot of things on this show are done because they're cool, not because it makes sense. That's the difference between Beast Wars and Beast Machines, by the way. You know what? That's I'll try to remember that. The difference between that differentiates Beast Machines from Beast Wars is that it does things that are cool, not because they make sense.
Well, and that kind of ties into what I was saying about a minute ago about Beast Machines has style, and like they do a lot of things to be in the show to be stylish.
They're just coming off that Matrix high, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Very quite clearly.
Why kick a bunch of cops if you're not going to jump in the air slow motion style and kick them like Trinity, which is revisited this episode. There's a slow motion kick scene with Black Arachnia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that since like episode 1. Episode 2?
No, it wasn't episode 1 because they didn't know how to transform in episode 1.
Right.
It was
when they did
was
first
early,
transform.
Though.
Yeah.
It was early though. She straight up does a Trinity like leap into the air like,
and the camera goes
and the camera like pans around like that very iconic Matrix shot.
So what happens here? You were saying Noble ripped Rat Trap right out of like the harness, and then he puts it on, and the Maximals kind of look at him,
and they're like,
"What the fuck?"
Yeah, they're like, "Bro, what are you doing?" And he puts it on. He tries to put it on. He's like, "Work, work, work! Damn you, work! Why won't you work?"
Oh, curse these disgusting organic paws.
And he gets the idea that he's like, yes. I think here is where he says yes again. He's like, yes, Spark. I can't interface with this because of this accursed organic body. And Spark extractors are flying around, and he's like, he's like, I've got it. And so he actually like willingly like grabs a couple of spark extractors and lets them like extract his
Holds
spark.
them to his chest. And
to-
Night Scream is like, my best friend Noble, no, even though Savage and Noble have just been fighting the Maximals for like a solid minute.
yeah.
No,
And-
not
and-
my best friend.
And they've already figured out that he can control either form and can shift between them
and
willy-nilly.
presumably revealing that he's been lying to them.
Yeah.
But nope, Night Scream's like, no. So what happens here?
So he extracts his spark.
Rat Trap jumps in the harness again. Right.
Yeah.
Or does he? No, sorry.
He
Does
did that
extract
before.
a spark, and Primal is like, how's that even possible? He's an organic being.
Yeah, how can he have a spark? But his spark is red, which I found interesting. And his spark, like
The color of a Sith.
or the color of a dragon, a Transmetal 2 dragon, like the one that I have to my left here.
It's true. It is red.
For the audio listeners. My Transmetal 2 dragon Megatron.
Fucking looks nice.
It's cool looking. It's not that great of a figure. Like engineering of it is very bizarre. But apparently Transformers Legacy, which is a 2022 Transformers line replacing the War for Cybertron trilogy, there was a leaked product listing of a leader class Beast Wars Dragon Megatron. So it'll be a brand new figure.
Oh shit.
A brand new figure, much like in the way the Kingdom figures were like new interpretations of the Beast Wars characters. So
that'll be interesting.
So I'm really fucking hyped for that. I've actually been like really like scaling down my Transformers.
Waiting
purchasing.
for that new 2022.
I mostly now just like focusing. I'm like I pretty much got like most of the G1 characters I want. I'm pretty much now just focusing on like Beast Wars characters, because Beast Wars is like I like G1 well enough, but like Beast Wars is my Transformers.
Yeah,
which is why I've done 72 episodes of a podcast about it.
Exactly.
What
the red light goes in the harness?
So the red spark goes into the control harness, and
it talks. By the way, we've never seen that before. Have we ever seen just a spark by itself able to speak?
Starscream.
You're right. Yeah. It did. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, so can Megatron, and he goes, ha ha ha, free at last.
And Noble's like body, like lifeless body, falls to the ground, and the spark is like briefly in the head of the command harness, and then just like shoots up the cables. And goes into the sky and flies right into Megahead.
Yeah. Right through its like sixth chakra or whatever it is. And its eyes light up. And wouldn't you know it, he can talk now.
And so the Maximals are outside, and Megatron's like, ha 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 ha, yes.
He doesn't have a mouth. It's creepy.
Yeah,
he talks out of speakers somewhere in the giant floating head.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Why would he need a mouth?
And I
like that Night Scream runs out and his first words are, "Where's Noble?"
There never was a Noble, you stupid child. Ho 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 ho. I used you. Yes.
Stupid bitch. And even with this knowledge, Night Scream falls and he goes, "No, he was my friend. He was just like me."
Quick sidebar in regards to something we talked about in the preamble, which you can listen to if you subscribe to patreon.com/lasercomb. In regards to something we talked about in the preamble, I'm actually tempted I'm tempted now to make my impression of Megatron even further from what Megatron actually sounds like.
Might as well. Well, one thing that we have a friend of the show from Dork Tales, Kelly. He said that when he got back into it and watched a few episodes, hasn't since he was younger. He was like, his voice isn't as deep as I remember. It's like higher than I remember, and it's like you should listen to our impressions. They're going higher.
So Megatron tells the Maximals that he spent so long like trying to figure out how to separate the organic from the technological side of him, and he finally figured out the way to do it, but his spark stuck with the wrong half.
So it's revealed that either this was a huge ass project in the making, the singularity, the weird event from making the
Cuban Missile Crisis of the end of season 1.
Yeah. Well, except that nukes were actually launched.
Right.
Is this a result of that? He like put some plan into motion so that when that happened, he would be split into a just organic and a just techno form.
So I don't know if this actually gets explained at any point later on in the series, because I watched through Beast Machines once back in like 2008. I don't remember.
Right.
I remember like kind of the end of the show, but that's about it. So I don't know if it actually gets explained or not, but what my theory here is that like one Mega Head, like that doesn't just happen. Like he was having that shit built over time.
Yeah.
So I think this was and he was always really like wary of, if you remember, he was really wary of separating his spark from his body because that would potentially leave him defenseless. So I think this was basically like a back against the wall, like 11th hour, like last ditch, like emergency, like press the panic button, like last ditch, like thing to do in case of emergency. And with the world with basically everyone about to be destroyed at the end of season 1, this was where he was like, all right, well, it's now or never. Like, so
I dig that. So while they were all going through their death and rebirth metamorphosis, let's go with that. He was like, blast it all, and activated this plan.
This like
project.
last ditch effort to extract him.
Doomsday plan number letter C.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't know if the show actually explains like how this all came to be, but that's the theory that I'm going off of right now.
Yeah, I like his little speech. Megatron's speech is like, for an eternity, I slaved away to separate my filthy organic side and my technologically perfect side.
I'd still really like to know why Megatron like really hates organics so much. Cause like because like in Beast Wars, like the whole beast mode thing was his idea. Create alternatives based on the most powerful local creatures, because there's too much Energon.
I like that impression more. Anyone listening, that's obviously
that's
Siege going full video game.
Yeah, full Beast 1997 Beast Wars video game, which I've used the intro from that video game that has the like very terrible like sound-alike voice acting. I've used it as the intro to several episodes of this podcast, including the first episode. So I kind of wonder if that guy on Twitter like isn't familiar with the Beast Wars game and thought that was us in the intro.
Oh, like played the intro and was like, "Oh, these are terrible impressions."
Yeah.
And never made it farther than 30 seconds. Yeah, let's go with that.
I kind of wonder, yeah. Which would be hysterical because like if that is the case. It's like, dude, that's not even us.
Let's go with that. I like that.
Shockingly enough, it isn't us, but no, it isn't us. Again, listeners, if you're wondering what we're talking about, go to patreon.com/lasercomb, and $5 a month, you get to listen to preamble audio. We had an hour-long preamble where we talked about some Twitter drama.
Yeah.
Before we got into recording this episode. Speaking of this episode's pretty much wrapping up.
Yeah, he shit talks them a little bit.
Yeah, he shit talks them
about
a
how
little
perfect
bit.
he is, and then he's like, "And now, Gary, it's time for you to Sigma balls." And he activates some thing that reawakens all of the Viacons. And if you recall from season 1, none of the Viacons have a spark. They need to be controlled by Megatron, but he can't. His processing power is split.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult for him. So
but now
he wakes them all up.
But now he's Mega Head. So
yeah, he doesn't have that dirty biological like body like holding him back.
So maybe it won't be a problem for him now. Also, I'm kind of curious to see how the two remaining Viacon generals are going to react to Mega Head being alive.
Yeah,
because they seem to be pretty happy that he was gone.
I mean, his reward was that they wouldn't be destroyed. But then on the side, he's like, as soon as you get rid of the Maximals, I'm destroying you. And they kind of knew that.
But then also their reward was also being destroyed, was having their sparks extracted. So I think we talked about that. I think we talked about that on a previous episode.
Yeah, it's a lot different than Beast Wars, where it's like, oh, we have to do what Megatron does, because Megatron rewards those who are loyal. Perfect Scorponok impression. Prove me wrong. But yeah, here it's just like, and don't screw up, otherwise I'll destroy you. And it's like, man, we don't even get time on that Xbox.
Yeah, anyway, so the cuts away to the Maximal cave. And the Maximals are like all like skulking around, and Night Scream is like looking like super sad. And Rat Trap walks over to him, and Night Scream's like, "What? You come to gloat? Come to say I told you so? Well, fuck you.
Come to call me a dumbass? Fuck off, stupid rat."
And Rat Trap's like, "No, dude, I was just coming to say I'm sorry." Which proving like in Rat Trap, he's being the bigger man here.
Rat Trap's the best character in Beast Machines.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And then we cut away back to the Megadome, and we see the corpse of Noble start to twitch, and then his eyes open.
When you said I truly could not fathom the depths at which the first few all of season 2 would reach, I don't even know what this means. Does he have a different soul? Is he just an animal? Did he lose his dragon form? Will he sound like Megatron?
Will he just never appear again? Who knows?
All of those are equally possible.
And yeah, end of the episode. So here on Too Much Energon, we review episodes of Beast Wars, Beast Machines, and sometimes even comic books, sometimes Japanese Beast Wars movies, sometimes even board games, sometimes episodes of Transformers Animated. Basically, whatever we feel like talking about any given week.
Right.
We review them on the Too Much Energon scale, which ranges from not enough Energon to a sufficient amount of Energon to too much Energon. It's basically bad, okay, good. Cal, what are you giving Prometheus Unbound on the TME scale?
Well, Prometheus like created mankind and like challenged Zeus and
flew too close to the sun. Oh wait, that's Icarus.
Too close to the sun, and father of Thor and Loki, and He's the guy that stabbed
au-
Jesus with a spear, right?
Author, creator of the Aztec calendar that ended in 2012. You know,
Right. He created that. Yeah. I
yeah.
almost forgot about that. Yeah. Um, wrote the Art of War. Uh, has a trident. I'm pretty sure he's got a trident too.
Also, was the first to land on the moon, beat the Russians to landing on the moon.
He's got a jaguar head. I'm pretty sure. Or was that some sort of like South African god? Yeah. Let's go with that.
I thought you were just talking about Ravage. Oh, he was also covert agent Ravage.
He was also covert agent. Remember, gods can take the form of a mortal. He was covert agent. Okay. I'm laughing.
Covert agent Ravage at your
Covert agent Ravage.
I can't even do it.
Comrade. I miss my daddy.
I'm not a dirty commie, so I can't do the accent properly.
That'll teach you. Do you think Savage like missed his like his cassette siblings?
Ravage.
No, probably not. He seems pretty boss.
Yeah, well, he's also like a Predacon, like triple agent. So
the Tri-Predicus Council, like secret agent.
Yeah. He's like a double / triple agent. So people like that, they don't give a shit about anyone, but the cause, you know, like they can't waste time getting too close or being nostalgic or like having loved ones. So no, he probably doesn't care about Rumble, Frenzy, Ratbat, or Laserbeak.
I forgot about Ratbat. But yeah, let's see. The thing is, the first 15 minutes of this episode is Night Scream says some Night Scream bullshit. Yep. And him being like, he's my friend and leave him alone. But the last 5 minutes of the episode are so damn good. As a whole, man, I don't know. I usually on Beast Machine, since we've been reviewing it, it's like very clear what I think of the episode.
Right.
But I really like that Megatron made his move and that like separated his soul and now he's Mega Head. But the first, okay. I'm not humming and hawing. I gotta give it a high sufficient amount of Energon because there was too much Night Scream emo bullshit.
That's fair. Yeah.
And as you pointed out before, so much contradictory back and forth where he hates his Maximal family, but then he praises them. And then he's like, some friends you are. And he sided with Noble like right away. It reminded me the way he's like, he's just like me. We're best friends. And Noble's like, yeah, cool. And just like let him think that. He didn't do anything to brainwash Night Scream. Night Scream's just an idiot. It reminds me of
Megatron when he's floating in the air with Mega Head. He even mentions that Night Scream was like easy to manipulate and was malleable.
Yeah.
So
I will give you the benefit that I gave Noble by killing your disgusting organic body. Or so, he says something like that. Like I'll give you the honor of dying, since you were such an easily like manipulatable, like malleable puppet.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Rampage and Transmutate in Beast Wars. He was projecting, much better episode. He was projecting onto Transmutate Rampage, and he's like, "You're just like me. You're different."
Yeah,
and
we talked about that quite a bit. Yeah, about how much Rampage was projecting.
It wasn't actually there. Night Scream's doing that. He's like, "Oh, you were all alone. I was alone, and like eating like crazy berries from this tree." So there's a little bit of projection there. Doesn't make me like Night Scream.
No, I hate Night Scream. So you're going with a high sufficient?
I'm going with sufficient amount of Energon.
All right.
How about Siege?
I'm gonna go. This episode's gonna get a low, too much energon from me.
It still hits too much Energon.
It still hits too much energon. The stuff with Night Scream is insufferable, but that's kind of becoming just a thing about this show that I'm just learning to accept. Is that Night Scream is going
You're
to be
supposed to think Night Scream is a bitch. Okay.
that night. Well, that Night Scream is just. I think Night Scream is supposed to be the character that kids relate to in this show.
Early 2000s.
I think that's what they're going for. I don't think they succeed because like when I was 15 in the year 2000, I would have fucking hated this kid in the year 2000. In fact, like I think I did, like because I caught Beast Machines like a couple of times here and there and didn't.
And
really
you saw
like
a Night Scream episode and you're like, fuck this show.
it. Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, so
What are the good beats though? Why are you giving it too much Energon?
so I've kind of just learned to like just accept Night Scream as being a like annoyance on this show.
Kind of like I've accepted that Primal is just kind of like a hippie commune leader.
Yeah. So
I made my peace with that.
it's getting to a point where like I'm not reviewing the show based on anything involving Night Scream just because like
Makes the show much better, I imagine.
I'm taking like the rest of the show out of context from all the Night Scream saying Night Scream bullshit. But anyway, I really like the build up to Noble, like the reveal of like what he is. I like the I mentioned I liked Gary Primal's like reaction being like, do you not understand the meaning of the word no? When Noble was just like, I'm just gonna run in anyway. I really like all the stuff in the Megadome command room with like Rat Trap in the control harness.
That was cool.
That whole like sequence with the spark extractors. We yada over it just because it was like a series of action shots.
It was done well though, better than most of the other action scenes. We did yada over it, but it was very stylish because the tiles are moving and
the lighting was cool. It was like black and red.
Black Arachnia, because she's a spider. She's actually upside down and the camera does weird stuff as it follows her.
Yeah.
Kind of like how my camera's doing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we yada that, but it's like one of those things where it's like describe like the Burly Brawl in the Matrix.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Neo fights a bunch of Agent Smiths. What how do we tell the story there? Yeah.
I really like everything from like when they get into the Megadome, like all the way until the end of the episode.
Same.
Like I love all that stuff.
Onwards is great.
Noble like trying to operate the control harness, like even though he's a completely organic like being.
That was
then just
funny.
being like, fuck it, I'm just gonna like spark extract myself. And then like finally like
I got nothing else to lose. They're on to me.
And finally like awakening, like Megatron getting his spark into Mega Head. I'm like, fuck, where's the show gonna go from here? Like, holy shit, this is dope.
It's reached peak. Like I'm saying that, but I thought a while ago it had reached peak bananas.
Yeah.
So, but I can't say that anymore because it only keeps going up. So
yeah.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't like this compared to Beast Wars. You need to view them differently, right?
Totally.
It's like when you watch a movie separate from the book, you can compare them and talk about what you liked more and what they did better and blah blah blah. But they went a different route, and it's going bananas. That's what the route is. And
it's going so bananas. There are too many bananas for Gary Primal to eat.
Yeah.
Himself.
Too much banana.
Too much banana. But yeah. So too much Energon. I dug this episode. Again, the Night Scream stuff is insufferable, but as I mentioned, I'm kind of just I'm judging the episode. I'm just judging the episodes with all of the Night Scream stuff removed in my head because he is just a constant annoyance on the show.
I'll try that next time.
Yeah, so too much Energon from me.
All right, there you have it.
There you have it. That was episode 72 of Too Much Energon. If you want to support the show, go to Patreon, patreon.com/lasercomb. I mentioned it earlier on in the episode. LAZORCOMB. Starting at the $5 and up tier, you get hours each and every week of bonus preamble audio with me, Cal, and whoever else, like talking about this, that, or the other thing before we actually get started recording the show proper. The preamble for this episode is close to an hour long. We talk about some interesting Twitter drama that we alluded to on this show. It involves another Beast Wars podcast. It involves someone accusing Cal of potentially like stealing a meme that they had made.
It's all Transformers related, oddly.
Yeah, it's our most like kind of on topic preamble that we've done in a long time.
Yeah.
I was actually like for a while I was like, man, should we just make this like part of the episode? But no, it's going to be in the preamble. So if you want to check that out, patreon.com/lasercomb. Also at the $5 tier, you get a monthly-ish commentary track. We are about to record another one pretty soon about the Matrix Resurrections, because we just did commentary tracks for the first 3 Matrix movies. So now that the Matrix Resurrections is available to rent and purchase at home, figure why not? Also at the $10 tier, $10 and up tier, you get our weekly-ish news and current events program, Lasercomb Tonight, where we talk about news and current events. You also get the ability to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on mine and Cal's other podcast, the Lasercomb podcast. Currently, we are doing an entire month of Patreon-sponsored shows, so if you want to get in on that, go to patreon.com/lasercomb. Social media, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/lasercomb. Once again, LAZORCOMB. Central hub for this and all the other podcasts that we do week in and week out. We're doing 3 podcasts weekly now, currently.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, we're a bit behind on too much Galavar, but it's like those are only monthly, so it's like we're gonna catch up. And it's like, oh, our commentary is like behind and all of this stuff, but it's like we're doing a lot.
We're doing a lot week in and week out right now. So,
we're doing a lot, but I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I don't think I talk about it too much. Christopher's Siege is like the editor and the producer and all of that stuff too, and he works full time. So we're one, thank you, Siege, but 2, like, unless you have a time turner or some sort of way to make like a quantum like field like effect where he and all of us are trying to get that stuff out there. So
yeah,
it's not like anybody's like tapping their foot and they're like, come on, guys, review that comic.
No, our Patreon subscribers have been great, actually. Like none of them have complained about anything being late. Like we've only been doing Lasercomb Tonight, kind of bi-weekly. We've only done 2 episodes this month, and probably only going to be 2 episodes this month. No one's complained about that. No, we're like a month or 2 behind on the commentary tracks. No one's complained about that. So, and everyone seems to be really who's at the $10 and up tier, who has been picking shows for us to review on the Lasercomb podcast. Everyone seems to be really happy with the results. So
yeah, and it's funny. So it's Patreon month. So in the Lasercomb podcast, we pick a random. Sorry, not this month. Patreons choose, but they pick a TV show that's off the air. and we watch a random episode of it. We also don't like pull punches, so it's like, oh,
No.
one of us didn't like this, and we don't know how well that's going to go, but it is what it is. My favorite, it's become like a meme where like Siege will be like, oh, I didn't like this, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't like it too. And then once we start talking about it, I'm like, I like this. I like this a lot.
Well, and I think part of it too is like we don't like, even if we don't like something, we're not like, this fucking sucks and you're fucking stupid for liking it. Like, no. Like I studied critical thinking in university. Like even if I don't like, because it's happened a couple of times on the Lasercomb podcast.
We'll shout out like the things that it did well, and like its animation and voice acting.
Even if I don't like the show, like we'll explain why we don't like it, and we always explain it in a fair manner.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, even if so overall, like the feedback from all of our patrons about the Patreon sponsored shows on the Lasercomb podcast has been very, very positive. So thank you to all of our patrons out there.
Yeah.
Twitter. If you want to follow the show proper on Twitter, it is at Too Much Energon. Or you can follow me at Lasercomb. Once again, LAZORCOMB. And Cal, where can they find you on Twitter?
NeoCal on NEO_KAL. Come for the memes, stay for the spice.
Stay for the not plagiarism, but stolen artwork, I guess.
Accidental I don't know. It just like thing. Everything ends up okay.
Everything ends up okay. And
everything ends up okay.
Again, we talk about this in the preamble for this audio, so go to Patreon to check that out. We'll be back next week with episode 73 of Too Much Energon, where we will be talking about the fourth?
The fourth one, in Darkest Night.
Fourth episode of season 2 of Beast Machines, In Darkest Night. So keep an eye out for that.
Oh, I just saw the description.
Oh, whoops.
What?
No
way.
Yeah.
I thought that ship had sailed already. Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah, wait till you see what he looks like.
Oh no. All right, everybody.
Yeah, don't even look at a picture. Just watch the episode, and it's
Shit.
he people made choices when they designed that character.
There were choices made. Okay.
Choices were made.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, we'll be back next week with that. And until then, I've been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
And I'm NeoCal.
And until next week, I am transformed.
And I am super transformed. So transformed. Perfect impression. Goodbye.